Okay, so I'm back with the papers cut and inked, and this is what I've cut. So I've cut 2 at 3 7/8 by 6 7/8, 2 at 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, 2 at 1 7/8 by 6 7/8, 2 at 4 7/8 by 2 3/8, 2 at 4 7/8 by 1 3/8. And then I've cut a piece for the pocket, which is 4 3/4 by 2 3/8, and some strips for these channels, which are 3/8 of an inch wide, and 4 of them are 6 7/8, and 4 of them are 4 7/8. So I've also laid them out as I want them, and that's the inside. And I've rounded the relevant corners. I've also checked that they're going to fit and not, when I glue them, be over any of the fold lines, because that would impede the fold and wouldn't look very nice. So what happens now is that we glue them all down. I'm not going to make you watch me do all of it. Obviously that would be quite dull, but if we do this centrepiece, I'm quite happy using glue stick for this. This isn't an archival piece. It's not something that I think will be kept forever by the recipient. It's just a bit of fun, a gift. Not necessarily archival. We're using faux ephemera. If I was putting real ephemera into here, I would be careful to use acid-free papers and card, but I'm not. So I'm sticking that down like so, and I want to do this bit because I want to show you the pocket. So that's that, and then these pieces will obviously be stuck on there. Let's do one more. I've inked all the edges again with the walnut stain distress ink. It's my favourite at the moment, although I do sometimes use vintage photo as well. So that's that piece. You can also use like a dry tape runner for this, or double-sided tape, and I just want to show you how this fits down the side. So that would be in our channel there. And I think it's worth putting the strips in for a bit of reinforcement, but also it finishes it off nicely. And then the pocket, I'm going to glue the paper on first. No rounded corners on this bit. The paper I'm using this time is Prima. I think it's called Lavender. I've had it a little while. I don't know if that's still available. I like it because it's quite thick. The Tim Holtz paper would work really well for this as well. Any thick scrapbook paper. So this is our pocket. Okay, so to make the pocket, I want to fold. The other thing I've done, which I should have said, is I've reinforced all my fold lines with a bone folder. So they've all been reinforced and on here as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is just stick these corners together here, and for this I am going to use stronger glue. Oops, should have made sure it was coming out before I started. Right, this is now what glue is this? I think it's Scotch Quick Dry. I just decanted it into a different bottle. This is why doing tutorials can be quite stressful, because you have to wait for glue to dry. We want to make sure this is as square as possible. So that's then going to be glued inside those fold lines, and it should pretty much match up with the edges of the paper, which it does. So let's add the glue right to the edges, because when we put things into the pocket, we don't want them slipping behind it or okay. So I'm gluing that, as I say, to the edges of where the paper is, and this Scotch glue does dry pretty quick. So it should just put my little needle back in, and then with my bone folder I'm just going to press that down. So you can see now how that's going to work, and it folds in quite nicely, everything tucked in. So what I have got a tiny gap here, so that if we want to put a pocket on the inside of this flap we can, and we'll show you how I do those inner pockets a bit later on. So what I'm going to do now is carry on gluing these pieces onto the inside. I've got these cut out for the outside. The only difference, I think on the first one I made, I used a lot of different papers. On this one, the main thing, I think, is to have a little bit of contrast between these two that overlap. Everything else will be hidden. So yeah, just a little bit of contrast there. Could have that one, I suppose. Anyway, so yes, I'm going to finish gluing these papers down, and then I'll come back. We'll do these paper pockets inside, and then sort out some of the ephemera that we're going to put inside. Thank you.